Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as I scream, please don't. We're talking about Jadon Sancho, we're talking about Casemiro. We're going to be starting off actually with a very big update from David Ornstein around Carlos Baleba. Also got a few bits coming in from players on international duty. Delit's been doing an interview as well and your new normal reaction and stuff. Apologies for being a bit late. I've had a haircut. That was a mistake because the UK cannot deal with rain. They just can't deal with it. People slow down, people behave like twats, and the traffic becomes gridlocked. I mean, it's rain. It's just wet. It's not ice. It's not bloody, it's not ice. It doesn't spin you off the road just because you get a bit of wet on the floor. That's what grips on tyres are for. You don't need to slow down to 10 miles an hour and slam your bloody brakes on for a bit of rain. Bloody idiots. Anyway, oh God, this is going to run out of battery as well. So I'll continue talking whilst I do this. Okay, I want to start off with David Ornstein. This is the great thing about having a microphone that is attached to me, because I could literally just walk down and make a cup of coffee, have a crack, you'd get the audio of it. You know what I mean? Right, let's start off with David Ornstein. So this is what David Ornstein has literally said. It's come out this morning. He was doing an interview somewhere. There's another three behind him. I think he might actually be in a airport. So he was asked who he'd sign for Manchester United if he was Ruben Amorim. Well, I don't massively care who David Ornstein would sign if he was Ruben Amorim, because he's not a Man United fan. He's a journalist. But what his answer said, I do care about, because he said Carlos Baleba, because they want him, he wants them. Brighton don't want to let him go, but we will see what the future holds. So that's hot off the press from one of the number one transfer journalists in the world, David Ornstein, saying that Manchester United want Carlos Baleba. He wants them. Brighton don't want to do a deal at the moment. So what are your thoughts on that? Is that fresh? Is that just because of the summer? Is it something we should still be looking at? Look, you cannot discount when David Ornstein says something that might be what Manchester United are looking to do. I personally don't really think there's a huge reason why Manchester United would move away from Carlos Baleba. My perception of Sir Jim Radcliffe, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, and the people at Man United, from very good sources and from very good experience, is that they are quite stubborn in relation to what they think is best. And, you know, with Man United doing well at the moment, they probably sit there quite smug. But the reality is, how much of that is by design and how much of that is by a little bit of luck? We'll have to wait and see. So I don't think, I sort of do agree with David Ornstein. I don't think they'll have abandoned the Carlos Baleba deal, because they've tried to do something in the summer. They didn't do it. Whether it's a risk or not, that's why I ask you. I personally think if he's available for 60 million in the summer, we'll go and do that deal on the belief that we scouted him well a year ago. We think he's the right player for us and we're going to do it. I can see why you might do that, because you might go, well, we've scouted him, we believe in him, this is the player that we want at Manchester United and we're going to get him. But do you not walk into a similar trap of what we've done before with other players, where we go a little bit ignorant, a little bit stubborn, and we go, this is the player we want, and we're going to ignore the last 12 months where, I mean, I think he got hooked at the weekend for Brighton again, didn't he, against Palace? I mean, he's not having a very good season. He was fucking awful against us. When you compare him to Elliot Anderson against us. So I just think with Carlos Baleba, and then he said with David Ornstein, we need to just move on. We don't need to move on. He's a very good journalist. I think with Carlos Baleba, we desperately need to move on. We don't need to refuse. We just need to park it and go, we've scouted that player. We approached that player. We like that player for this reason, but we might have dodged a bullet. Let's park him. No one else is going to take him at the moment. And let's look and see if there are better options. So I think that I think that's how I would approach it. But it's interesting that David Ornstein's still talking about Man United wanting him and him wanting us. I don't massively want him at the moment. I don't like the way he's playing. I don't like the way he played against us. I think that was a massive, I mean, for me with Baleba, I had a few red flags before. Talking about how he'd responded to not getting the move to Man United. But I felt that the Old Trafford audition was a really big opportunity to show us what he was capable of, and he bottled it. he bottled it. He was rubbish. Like he was absolutely shit. And I just think that is he's not ready for the move at the moment. He's another prospect, isn't he? He's another player who's not ready. And what I like about Cunha and what I like about Mbeumo and what I like about Lemens to a certain extent is they've come in and grabbed the opportunity. It's not about age. You don't need to be 25. It's about the mentality. It's about being ready. And I think what we saw with Baleba is he's just not ready. And there was no reason not to, against us, to turn up and put in a good performance, but he couldn't do it. You know, he did that silly tweet or Instagram post, oh, I'm going to Old Trafford in the morning, and then didn't turn up. So for me at the moment, United might be prioritising Baleba, but I think there's better options, i.e. Anderson. I think he's a better option. You could argue maybe Wharton's a better option. Baleba at the moment, you know, he's trajecting down. There's still a lot of the season left, but I don't think he should be our priority, but he may well be. According to David Ornstein's update, he may well still be he may well be our priority. So give us your thoughts on that. In fact, I would like to just run a quick poll on this. Would you still, I'm not going to compare him to anyone because I think that's a little bit silly. Would you still sign Baleba? Let's start the poll on that one. Good stuff. Okay. Sorry, I've just had a super chat come in here and it's slow. Emily Derry says it could be that Baleba is still on the list, but maybe not number one at this point. Only that summer moves may still be being discussed. Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying, Emily. I completely agree with that. Keep him on the list, but let's not be stubborn about this is the number one. We're going for Baleba, because I think that's what I'm saying. It's like, I understand we went for him in the summer. I think last season he was fantastic. I and many of you were very excited that we went for him in the summer. And you know what? If we'd signed him in the summer, we would have been, oh my God. And maybe it would have been really good. Maybe he would have done what he's done here. What I'm saying is what we've seen of him since that deal didn't happen, for me, is unacceptable form. It's not good enough. It's not the sort of form that I look at him and go, you know, let's give him a chance. I think he's been really bad. So I would sort of like go, yeah, okay. We need to take the learning from that. Maybe in the summer we did want him. Maybe now we're not so sure. Let's see what happens between now and the end of the season. If he has a renaissance, if he switches his head on and he starts playing well, maybe we do go back for him. But what I'm saying is I wouldn't go, well, we wanted him last summer, so no matter what happens this year, let's go back for him. I think that would be really silly because the red flags, if it goes wrong, are there. And you can't ignore the red flags. As we've seen with other players, there were red flags we ignored and they came back to bite us in the arse. And it can be as simple as Jadon Sancho, or it can be as, you know, niche as Mason Mount had an injury problem and we signed him, and he's had an injury problem ever since we bought him. So you've got to be alive to these. Why can't I become a member? Says Motats. I don't know. Josh Hunter, you can. Welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Jay Ignition says, I hope we get a couple of deals done in January. Doubtful but hopeful, says Jay. Check out last night's show. Basically covers that. Robert McCormack's back. He says, if Amorim brings in a midfielder and plays him, he's exposing himself as a complete liar regarding Manu minutes. I don't think he will bench Casemiro or Bruno anyway. And I presume you're saying he's a liar because, you know, he said that Manu's been doing really well in training and hasn't picked him. So if someone's doing really well in training and you're not picking them because you prefer Bruno and Casemiro, why would you bring somebody in and then start playing them? I suppose that's the point. Now, the second thing I want to talk about this morning, and we can certainly circle back, is Casemiro. There was a few reports yesterday evening that I didn't get a chance to talk about because the 8 o'clock show was so bloody good. Well done last night. Looking forward to tonight. So there's a few stories coming out yesterday, and I'll summarise them as this. Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim is open to keeping Brazil midfielder Casemiro at the club beyond his current contract, which expires at the end of the season. He's shown that when he's at 100% fitness, he's still got what it takes to play at the highest level. However, the club are suggesting that he takes a pay cut. I knew this is going to go off like a bottle of pop here, but I just want to say, if after 10 years you haven't figured it out, you're an idiot. If you've only just joined as part of the United Stand community, it comes with a warning. We do have debate and we don't always agree. We're not playing for likes, we're playing for opinion. If we renew Casemiro, we are idiots. We are absolute idiots, right? And I'll tell you in a calm way why, but I'll give you the positives first. Casemiro, in my opinion, is one of the best holding midfielders we've had in the last 20 years in the game. Like, he's one of the best holding midfielders the game has produced in the last 20 years. You know, he's up there with the best, right? But After his first season at Man United, he lost about a yard of pace. He lost it, and he hasn't got it back. You know, he can come back trim, but he didn't get that yard of pace back. It's gone. And that's why I could do a compilation on this season of misplaced tackles and mistimed tackles and late tackles. They're still happening because he's slow. He's lost it, right? His passing, what he's done, because he's an intelligent player, what he's done with his passing is he stopped taking a touch and he plays it first time. And that is really useful because it makes him look good. But if you want to keep possession, he can't do that because he's too slow. So he has to move the ball quickly. He has been our best midfielder this season. There's no doubt about it. But if that's our best midfielder, we've got a bloody problem. We should not be pretending that he's playing like, you know, prime Rodri or prime Declan Rice or Caicedo. There is a very big difference between our best midfielder, Casemiro, and the best midfielders at other clubs. So if we are thinking about extending him, I think Ruben Amorim's making a massive mistake, because take away what Ruben Amorim thinks. In his final season at Manchester United with Ten Hag, our midfield was wide open. We all remember the Jamie Carragher-White trainers clip when he was going, I figured out Manchester United's problem. When I look at that Manchester United side, you can park a bus through that midfield. But we all knew that. That midfield with Casemiro in it, with Ten Hag, was getting run through because he didn't have the legs. So this is always going to be a problem. Now, the reason Casemiro is doing quite well at the moment is because he's got a back five behind him. A back five behind him. So are we going to continue to carry another midfielder for another year? We need to, you know, there is no logic to keeping Casemiro at this football club, right? You could argue you could keep him as an experienced bench player, but he's on 350 grand a week. If you're keeping him, you've got to start him. And if you're going to start him, what the hell are we doing? So for me, it's like, I'm happy for Casemiro to be our midfielder this season. We don't really have many options, and he's the best one we've got, to be fair. But if we're thinking about keeping him for another year, and Maguire, and Luke Shaw, what the fuck's going on? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? These players are not Kevin De Bruyne. They are not Rodri. They are not Virgil van Dijk. They are players that really haven't achieved much at Manchester United other than occasional brilliant games and apparent leadership. But Pep Guardiola bins De Bruyne off in the summer to send him to Napoli. We're going to extend people like Casemiro. I just think at some point you've got to go, no, that is not a good idea. As a stopgap midfielder this season, Casemiro is doing a good job. But next season, going to be 35. And he's on 350 grand a week. Why? And I don't think he'll take it anyway, but why are we going to Casemiro with a begging bowl going, please stay for another year on half the wage? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. But it does make sense. It's not just some paper story. It does make sense, because when you look at Ruben Amorim at Sporting, he's got a track record of doing this. A track record of keeping players that you might think he's going to get rid of because he likes to have them around the dressing room. But you can't pay 300 grand a week for a cheerleader. You know, Maguire, I sort of understand it, and he probably might take a pay cut. But you can't. You know, Casemiro is not going to go down below 200 grand a week anyway, and he might not even go below 250. So for me, I just think this is fine for now. And you know, some people's brains won't work because they can't think like this, but we're talking about extending him for another year. We're not talking about dropping him and selling him tomorrow. Like, between now and May, I'm comfortable with it. But after May, it needs to end. It needs to end. It's a stopgap. He's a stopgap midfielder. He is the best midfielder we've got, but he's a stopgap midfielder. He's still going to pick up the yellow cards. He's still slow. He still can't retain possession for us. We need a midfielder, by the way, just to sort of drop you a hint here. We need a midfielder that takes the ball, keeps the ball, passes the ball, keeps the ball. Our possession stats this season are horrendous. Horrendous. Like, we're below 50% for over 50% of our games. So more than half of our games in the Premier League this season, we've not even had half possession. That's abysmal. We're only not talking about it because of where we are in the league, but we aren't keeping possession because our midfield can't keep possession. You've got Bruno, who just wants to hit a Hollywood ball, and you've got Casemiro, who has to move it quick, otherwise he gets pressed. We need to bring a couple of midfielders who actually can keep the ball as well. So For me, please, let's use Casemiro for this season, and then let's move him on and build something new. Let's stop living in the bloody past, because it has to change. Has to change, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. On your opinion, would you still sign Baleba? 55% of you say no. 45% of you say yes. I like that, though. I like that. I think that's a good split, because you know, he was a player we were all excited about in the summer. He's had a bad 2 or 3 months, but there is still a lot of the season left. We probably won't buy our star midfielder until the summer, and he is a player that wants to come to us. And you must remember that as well. He wants to come to us. If you're Man United and you've got Elliot Anderson who's going, I might come to you, I might not. Adam Wharton, I might come to you, I might not. Stiller, I might come to you, I might not. Baleba, I will come to you, and no one else wants him. I'm just saying that might be quite attractive to United as well, because it's an easy deal. You know, they already spoke to him before. He wants to come here. Nobody's looking at him because he's not had a very good season. That would be a mistake, by the way. You don't just go for somebody because no one else wants them and they want you. But that might be another reason Man United do consider looking at that. Let me end that poll, because I want to ask you about Casemiro as well. Would you extend Casemiro another year? Get voting. Get your comments in. Third story of the morning. We've got to get through some of this morning. And Jadon Sancho. Now, please don't, with Jadon Sancho on the thumbnail, might make you think he's coming back. There is zero chance of that. Man United don't even have the power to bring him back, but he won't be coming back to Man United anyway. There was this ridiculous talk that we were going to extend his contract for another year to try and get some money for him in the summer. As we said last summer, are Man United that naive that they think they can get a fee for Jadon Sancho? There's 2 problems with this. First of all, who would pay for him? And that's a pretty unsurmountable problem. Second of all, why would Jadon Sancho, even if we extend his contract for another year, which we can do against his will, why would Jadon Sancho in the summer go, you won, I will go to somewhere and take a pay cut so you can get a transfer fee? He'd just do what he did last summer and go, I'm not going there, I'm not going there, I'm not going there, I'm not going there, and end up getting a loan deal. Like, we literally tried. Romano and Ornstein were talking about it all summer. We literally put it out there that we were going to get a fee for Jadon Sancho, and it was Turkish clubs, it was Italian clubs, and they all approached and they all had a look. And Sancho was like, I am not taking a pay cut, and Man United couldn't get a fee. Man United then sort of put it out there that, well, we'll try again in the summer. I mean, Jadon Sancho doesn't strike me as the sort of person that would give a shit about waiting another year so that he's free. He likes freedom. So United aren't going to bother with that anymore. So he's going to be out of his contract in the summer. As we know, we've spent over £120 million on Jadon Sancho, and he's 25. It's embarrassing. And that's probably why United were trying to salvage some money from it, because, I mean, I think it's laughable that we've spent £125 million on the fee and the wages of Sancho over the last 5 years, and he's still only 25 and he's going to walk out the door for nothing. Arguably, it goes straight in at number 1 as our worst ever bit of transfer business. And as much as it's laughable, imagine what the Glazers think. Imagine what Ineos think. £125 million out of a football club. I mean, that's a seventh of our debt. You know, that's a seventh of our debt. £125 million gone on nothing. So whatever we think about it's embarrassing. Imagine what the club think. I mean, it's just a gaping hole. But the talk of the town with Sancho at the moment is it's not going very well at Aston Villa. They might ditch him in January and he could be heading back to Dortmund again. So, I mean, what does it mean to us? Not a lot. I mean, I don't see him as a Man United player anyway. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of Villa fans because of where I live. I don't know why they did that deal. The Rashford deal made sense. Point to prove, actually a decent player when he's on it. I don't know whether Villa thought, oh, once, you know, we've done it once, but Sancho was never going to be a Rashford. So look, yeah, I mean, maybe he goes back to Dortmund. I don't know. But from our point of view, what do we get out of this really? you know, I don't know. I don't know what we get. Is he our worst ever signing? I mean, even Anthony at 80 million, it's not 125, is it? Like, I just think it's been a total and utter disaster, to be honest with you. But yeah, he could be heading off to Dortmund, so we'll wait and see what happens with that. I can't see him doing anything at Villa, really, but you know. I'm still very sceptical about our owners, says Nishant. Our owners will buy anyone in January. Sorry, let me read this properly. Nishant says, I'm still very sceptical that our owners will buy anyone in January, at least not till the last 3 days. We've got to be quick if we're going to buy someone, says Nishant. I think in relation to the January transfer window, obviously we went into it in major depth on the show last night. As I said, I'm not going to go over it again. João Gomez can happen. Conor Gallagher can happen. We need a midfielder. So it can happen in January. And if the club try and say, we're not doing it because of whatever reason, you know, money, or you had money for Baleba that you didn't spend, so that's bollocks. Or they try and pretend that the summer's a better market. Well, it isn't, because the summer market's got a World Cup in it and it'll have a lot of competition in it. And also, the January transfer window has proven to be very successful for clubs like Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool. You get a player in, the market is good, and then they're bedded in for next season and help you in this season. So if we ignore it, we're morons, basically. Chris says, I think Anderson wants a Newcastle return. He's a good player. He was forced out by PSR. Lots to prove, plus before 100 million, plus possibly Man City to bid. Man United away off it, says Chris. I don't think we'll get Elliot Anderson. I don't. I think he's the best option out of Baleba and Wharton, but I don't think we'll get him. I think a lot of things would have to go right for us to get him. We'd have to get Champions League football. We'd have to be, you know, right on our game. And I don't know. I don't know what his preference is, but I don't know. I really don't. Ellie says, amazing show last night. Portugal for the AFCON was genius. Yes, he didn't even win comment of the evening. So get ready for tonight. We have a new section on 8 o'clock where, you know, we're trying to get comments that generate debate. And certainly there was a comment that generated debate last night. But there was a funny comment that was, can we get a late entry for Portugal into the AFCON? Obviously based on Bruno and Delo wouldn't be here. I mean, look, it was comedy. It was a joke. But yeah, I mean, I think there are people out there that do think that it would be an interesting Manchester United side to see what we're like without Bruno. What I would say about that, though, is as much as I don't like Bruno in the midfield, we are in touching distance of the top 5. Like, if we got rid of Bruno, would we be in touching distance of the top 5? I don't know. We have spent the last 10 years bemoaning the club for living on past glories, says Emily Derry. Why should we do the same with one player? Casemiro is declining. He's not that player anymore. It's time to look forward. Yes, and Emily, that's why I aim it at Amorim, because I feel like he, you know, this will be his decision. If this happens, it will be on him. Man United have been trying to sell Casemiro. Look, in fairness to Ineos, they've been trying to move Casemiro on ever since they came in. Rashford was on a big wage, get him out. Casemiro, they've desperately been trying to get rid of him for 2 years. He wants to run his contract down so that he's a free agent and make a load of money. I don't think Casemiro will stay anyway. I think Casemiro has enjoyed his time at Manchester United, but I don't think Casemiro will say, I'll stay here and take a pay cut when, let's be clear, Casemiro will be out of contract at 34 this summer and he's playing well and he's going to go to a World Cup. He can legitimately say to probably teams in Europe, certainly the MLS and the Saudi League, he can say, I'm a free agent, I'm playing well, I want 350 grand a week and I want a 20 million signing on fee. Man United won't be able to go anywhere near that. So I actually think it's fanciful that Man United think they can get him to stay. I also think it's desperate as well, because we shouldn't be looking at a player of that age and that profile as part of our future beyond this season. Sorry for disturbing your flow. It's becoming a member limited in certain countries, says Motaz. I think it is, but years ago I looked at that. I don't think everybody can become a member, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe someone can help you with that. Chip says Brighton are also proud and stubborn. They won't lower the price that much, and you can't go near him at 100 million at his current form. How much would you pay for Baleba then? Imagine in the second half of the season he does okay, like he did last year. I think he's devalued. I think that with regards to Baleba, if Brighton wanted 100 million in the summer, that was your chance, because he'd had a really good season, and you could go look at Caicedo. This season, we've seen at least 3 months of a drop-off. So even if he finished the season like he did last year, I'd still say, come on, there was a dodgy 3 months there that definitely impacts his value. So how much would you pay? He's not a £100 million player now. You can't have a 3 months like that, because it's a question mark on your, consistency, etc. I would say he tops out at 60 now. I don't think United knew that. Some people go, "Oh, United were right in the summer to offer 60." Nah, they weren't right in the summer to offer 60, because they're not bloody Mystic Mark, Meg. But I think based on the 3 months we've just seen, I'd say 60 is about right. If he has a good second half to the season, you can't be going 70, 80, not based on what we've seen in the last 3 months, and that damages his value. But if, as Chip said, if Brighton don't want to lower it, I think for 50 to 60 million, he'll be cheaper than every other option available for what we're after, says NJ. And Josh Hunter, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I think Kamara for Villa is a good shout, says Derry. Look, there are other options out there, definitely. Okay, on the poll, would you extend Casemiro for another year? 25% of you are saying yes, and 75% of you are saying no. Now, look, hopefully the conversation that we've had this morning is an intelligent one around Casemiro, because I get a little bit tired. I was on Terry's channel yesterday and we were talking about this. I get a little bit tired of the word agenda, because agenda doesn't enter my vocabulary. I don't really understand what agenda is. Agenda is something that's, when I think about the word agenda, I see it as something that is an opinion that's just based on stubbornness or, naivety, which I don't do. I don't do that. I'll criticize Amorim even though I want him to do well. Bruno's one of my favorite players, but I also think, I think he has his problems. A makeup professional, I don't know whether you're being abusive here or you're being nice. I don't know. Everyone don't need to agree with you, Mark. Okay, so you are actually being quite abusive with that. I'll tell you a little story about this channel, right? And it probably frustrates everyone else as much as it frustrates me. Everyone doesn't need to agree with you, Mark. Okay, the principle of this success of this community, and the reason it's here 10 years later, and the reason it started off with like 10 people watching and now it gets thousands and thousands of people watching, is because right at the start, for about 18 months, we basically used to say after most shows, real fan opinion for real fans. I got rid of that because I didn't really understand what the real bit was all about. But one of the other principles we always had is that you're not meant to agree. The whole point is, I don't want you to agree. I want you to have your own opinion. That was what we've always been about. So you couldn't be further from the truth. I don't want you to agree with me. If you do agree with me, that's fine. But I want you to go, I don't agree with that, and here's my opinion. That's the whole point of the brilliance of what we've created here. I don't give a shit if people agree with me or not. If you do, well done. You're intelligent people. If you don't, great. You don't agree with me. That's fine. I don't care. If I was playing for likes and stuff, I'd be like all those other United channels and aggregators who want to rim you and go, oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. That's not life. That's certainly not football. We're all passionate individuals with different niche opinions. I get on really well with Robert McCormack. We've had beers together. He's loving for Rashford. I don't agree with it. I don't agree. And I'm sure he doesn't agree with some of my opinions as well. Ricky and me don't agree on loads of stuff and we get on really, really well. I don't care if you disagree or agree. What I do care about is when it becomes toxic, abusive, or agenda driven, like you don't listen to facts. And when it comes to Casemiro, I realise there is a cult for Casemiro in this fan base, like there is for every other bloody player. But what I'm saying, and probably 75% of you who voted are saying, is right here, right now, there is no debate that he is our best midfielder. But it's a little bit like open up your cereal cupboard and your favourite cereal is Shreddies, Crunchy Nut Cornflakes, Rice Krispies, right? You open up the cupboard, none of those are there. Weetabix are there, porridge is there, you know, bloody what's it's not what's it, you can't have them for breakfast. Anyway, and you go, the best of the bunch is Weetabix. I'll have that. That's the best breakfast I can have. With Casemiro, 100%, he's the best midfielder we've got at the moment. Mainu, God knows, we never see him. Agate, yeah, okay. Bruno, not even a midfielder. So Casemiro is the best midfielder we've got. What I'm saying is, as soon as possible, we need to buy 2 midfielders and start building our midfield, because this midfield ain't it. It's doing okay. We might get top 4 out of it. We might get top 5 out of it. But last time I checked, for the last 10 years, it's about when are we going to win the league? How many years till we win the league? When are we going to win the league? It's not about, ooh, we finished 5th with a 31-year-old number 10 and a 34-year-old past it midfielder. That's not the plan. So if this season, Bruno and Casemiro get us top 5, well done. Thank you very much. You need to go because I need to build a team that can win the league now. I need to bring 2 midfielders. That's the conversation we're having. The conversation is, would you keep Casemiro for another year? And I'm like, no, because he ain't never going to win us the league. No, he's not. He's never going to do it. He's not good enough to help us win the league. If he was 27, you'd build a bloody team around him. But he's 34 in February. This season, fine. Don't extend it beyond that. We're not a bloody charity. And I look at Pep Guardiola, and I look at Mikel Arteta, and I look at Arne Slot, and I look at what they do with players that are coming towards the end, and they move them on. You could argue that keeping Van Dijk and Salah might not be a good idea for Arne Slot, considering their form this year. But they are 2 world-class players, and they won the league in the summer. We are looking to keep Casemiro and Maguire. They are not Van Dijk and Salah. And look at the risk with those 2 now in their 30s. You never know when they're going to drop off a little bit more. We need to build for the future. So for me, Casemiro this season is our best midfielder. But next season, we've got to move on from this. If he was on 100 grand a week, you might go, let's keep him around the place. He's on 350k a week. And also, people need to start looking at our midfield and realising that the reason we've been shit in the second half against Spurs and Forest is because our midfield loses the control. We're no good. We're no good when we're in control, by the way. I don't know whether everyone's realised this. We're no good when we're in control. Look at the Brighton game when we're in control. Make subs, drop off. Look at the Forest game. 1-0 up at half-time, completely implode in the second half. Look at the Spurs game. 1-0 up at half-time, completely implode in the second half. We're no good in a winning position. But as soon as it goes to 2-1 to Spurs or 2-1 to Forest or 3-2 to Brighton, what happens? 4-2, 2-2, 2-2. What happens at 0-0? 1-0, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. You know, we're good in a position of where this, you know, where it's level or we've got to get back in a game. But as soon as we go in front, we're like, we can't control the game. That's the midfield. We can't control games. We all said it at half-time against Forest, and we definitely said it against Spurs. What we need to do is keep hold of the ball and don't invite the pressure and wait for the opportunity to hurt them in the space they're going to leave attacking. And we couldn't do it in 2 games because we haven't got the midfielders who are confident and good enough and disciplined enough on the ball to keep the ball. It's always Casemiro moves it quick, Bruno moves it quick. Stylistically, that might be what Amorim wants to do. But in this league, you can't just get rid of possession quickly. As I said, we're less than 50% possession in over half of our games. We're getting rid of the ball too quick. That's got to go. I tell you what, if we'd had 60% possession against Spurs, or no, tell you what, tell a lie, if we'd had 57% possession against Spurs and Forest, we'd have won the game. It's just that little extra 5-10% of possession changes the game. And the only way we're going to do that is by bringing in midfielders that can do it. And, you know, people say it's light switch. I say it's light switch. People say it's mentality. I say it's mentality. But it actually can be a lot simpler than that. Having a couple of midfielders or one midfielder that can just keep the ball, calm it down. We're 1-0 up. They're going to come at us for the next 10 minutes. Let's be disciplined. Let's try and keep the ball. The great thing is, if I'm Casemiro or I'm Bruno, right? and I say to De Ligt and Yoro and Luke Shaw, what we're going to do for the next 10 minutes is, right, give me the ball, move, give it you back, I'll move, I'll have it back, I'll have it back, I'll have it back. They'll realise we're going to try and keep possession. They'll press us. And then what we do is we're looking for Cunha, we're looking for Mbeumo, we're looking for the overlap from one of our wing backs, and we'll hit them into the space. It's so bloody simple, and we're not able to do it at the moment. And this is why everybody knows we need to invest in the midfield, because we're not keeping the ball. We're not protecting our defence well enough, and we're not supporting our attack well enough. And all of that comes from the midfield. And I absolutely subscribe to the view that if you parachuted in Elliot Anderson and Carlos Baleba into our midfield against Everton and for the rest of the season, we'd comfortably be top four. Comfortably be top four. We're two good midfielders away from really being on a journey. And even if you think we're on a journey with Bruno and Casemiro, they still need replacing because of their age profile. We need to keep moving forward. There needs to be a serious discussion about players who've been here for 3 or 4 years, says John United. Well, I think we've had that serious discussion before. Now, Amorim seems to me to be a manager that has this, this thing where he likes to keep players around who are old, if he likes them. It sort of flies in the face of the wind of modern Premier League football. There aren't many clubs that do that. How many players have Arsenal got that are actually experienced players that are just staying around? How many players have Man City got that are just experienced players that are keeping around? I mean, you'd probably say John Stones, but is he that old? Liverpool have obviously done it with Van Dijk and Salah, and they might be paying the price for that now. Neo says he's keeping them for the leadership. Yeah, but we're evolving away from that now. Why would I need to keep Casemiro and Maguire for leadership when I've got people like Mazraoui, De Ligt, Cunha, and Mbeumo? I don't think we need to now, especially if you bring 2 midfielders in who've got something about them. I think we're building a new leadership team, and I think it's on the horizon very, very quickly, in my opinion. Okay, let's have a quick look at what you've got to say. Why do we win when we're not in a winning position, says Matthew? Why can't we win when we're not in a winning position? I think we've just sort of gone through that. I think Casemiro should go, Maguire and Bruno too, says Bees. I don't mind keeping Maguire. I don't mind keeping Maguire. And I know that sounds a little bit strange, because you could argue that Casemiro is a better player and we're weaker in the midfield than we are at the defence. I don't mind keeping Maguire because I think his experience is really different. He's got a half his wage. So if Harry Maguire says, I will stay at Man United for another year on 100 grand a week, I don't mind. Can't stay on 190 grand a week. He won't play that much anyway, because our best defence has got De Ligt and Yoro in it, and he's not a left-sided centre-back. But Maguire's experience is very different to everybody else's. It's not about winning the Champions League or winning Premier Leagues or being the best centre-back in Europe or anything like that. It's simply his experience is important because of the journey he's been through. It's been such a roller coaster, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And if people actually listen to him, that's quite a big experience for anybody. A new signing, a player going through a bad patch, a youngster. So I don't mind doing that. It's a bit like a Poundland version of Johnny Evans, really, because Johnny Evans had actually won things. But I don't mind doing that. But you can't do it with 3 or 4 players. Mark, you said you want players who keep the ball, but you want Conor Gallagher. That doesn't make sense. Jason, that's just your opinion on Conor Gallagher. I think Conor Gallagher would be a step up on what we've got. I think he can keep the ball, and I think he's a modern midfielder that would work in our system very, very well. You obviously don't think he can keep the ball, and you can probably pull up a compilation tape of him giving the ball away and not being able to do it. I could pull one up where he does. I'm comfortable with his going for Conor Gallagher in January. Did you see the first half versus second half tables? If we only played first halves, we'd be top with 22 points. If only second half, we'd be 18 with 6. What? I think that's an 8 o'clock topic. If ever I've seen one, Slazy. If that is true, that is incredible. So based on the first half, we'd be top with 22 points. Based on the second half, we'd be 18th with 6. It's a little bit like Spurs, isn't it? Spurs were or are top of the league for away form, and they are bottom of the league for 4th from bottom for Home form, which is incredible. We need to keep moving forward. Sorry, I'm just trying to, it's all freezing out a bit here. Do we have a recall clause on Collier? He's had a good start with Albion and shown the traits we definitely need right now. Oh no. I feel I'm like that Churchill dog. Oh no. We definitely should not be recalling Collier. I mean, Collier is on loan at a championship club playing football. Let's bring him back to sit on the bench for Casemiro and Bruno. No, development has to be an important strategy with players that are fringe players. This is why Mainu should be loaned out. Like, we can't just bring players back and go, oh, you've done well, sit on our bench. Like, he is better off, unless you're going to bring him back and start him, keep him at champion, keep him playing football. It's really important. Matthew says, I mean, why do we lose control after we score first? It's like we're always playing reactively rather than proactively. Well, as I said, Matthew, it's an inability to keep possession. It's a midfield problem. Most teams, if you watch any game of football, 90% of the time, even if it's Man City, after you score a goal, there will be a period where the opposition react, and you've got to, solidify and compose yourself. Obviously, it's not always the case. You might feel that the opposition aren't capable of doing it, and you're so in control, you go again and again, and that's why you get 3, 4, 5-0. But in a lot of games, you might be on top, you score a goal, and then there'll be a momentum shift, because in life, if somebody has a setback, people get up and try. So it's quite common that you go 1-0 up and then the opposition will come back at you. And most teams know that's going to happen, and they deal with it by not being complacent, doing the basics well, keeping the ball, looking after the ball and not making mistakes. What United do is we go 1-0 down and we keep trying to hit these quick transitional balls, and we just give possession away. So if I go 1-0 up, and then for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to have less than 50% possession, I've got a bloody good chance, if I'm the opposition, of getting an equaliser. What we need to do is go 1-0 up and grab control of the game. We need to shift our tactics a little bit. Stop being so direct, stop being so transitional, and actually be a little bit composed. Then we'll get the second goal, and then the game will be over. But we keep playing the same way. Also, with a little bit of nervousness because they're attacking us. There's a little bit more effort coming our way. No hype around Ederson at Atlanta right now. Sneak in and sign him up. I think Ederson was a Ten Hag era target ace, because I've never heard anything under Amorim since we've been there. No to Gomez. He's a CDM from Poundland. Baleba, yep, says Fez. I can see a scenario where we sign 2 midfielders, but we see Casemiro and Bruno start the first game of next season, says Visco. Yeah, look, I mean, the great thing about Man United is that we're a roller coaster of emotion. It's not necessarily a great thing. I'd rather we were just a consistent freight train of success. But we're up, we're down, we're up, we're down, we're up, down. And nobody can sit here and say we're back, because in a year's time, we might have a different manager and another formation and a different tactic. And nobody can sit here and say next season we won't see Bruno and Casemiro starting for Man United. I think the most important thing is that we don't. I think this season for me, and looking at Amorim's team selections, I think this season is just a stopgap. I think it's about getting into Europe. And I would hope that he's analysed absolutely everything and gone that percentage-wise, if I go with these experienced players, I've got a good chance of getting top 5. But that midfield might not allow that to happen. And certainly it ain't going to get any better next year. So this is why midfield is such a big area for Manchester United. And this is why many of us agree that we need to bring one in January and one in the summer and have, major surgery on that area. Thank you very much to Josh Hunter for that as well. Appreciate that. Done that one as well. Could we get Baleba on the cheap in January? Luke, I think, as somebody said a few minutes ago, why would Brighton go, we want £100 million in August, and then go, he's had a bit of a bad time, you can have him for 40. Brighton ain't that club. I think Brighton to be honest with you, Brighton might actually look at Baleba's drop-off as a positive and go, if the move's off now, we'll end up keeping him, which is beneficial for us. So, I mean, Brighton aren't really doing anything they wouldn't expect to do. I mean, they were never going to be top 6 anyway. They're around mid-table. Couple of wins, they'll be up near 7th, 8th. So I don't think Brighton are really missing out on Baleba's form at the moment. And I don't think they'd be that bothered about him not going to Manchester United. Let me have a look what you're saying. Can we get Baleba on the cheap? Do fans think that Bale has partly down tools so that he's worth less in the market and Brighton would be happy to move him on? Baleba, Kenneth. Casemiro is like an old Rolls Royce. He purrs, but he's knackered, says Rob Always United. And Mark is the kind of guy who talks about what to do as if it needs to be done already. We bought 3 attackers, got rid of the bomb squad, and here he is saying Amorim likes oldies. Come on, mate, says Virgil. You know, when you read a comment and it doesn't make any sense, that one. This is also Amorim's system, by the way. Every goal kick is a long ball, says DK. Is Collier even playing much at West Brom, says Maliba. And United, in average, already have the youngest squad in the league, even with the likes of Bruno and... No, we do not have the look. Mate, Luke, stop lying. We do not have the youngest squad in the league. We definitely do not have the youngest squad in the league, because I know for a fact it's Chelsea at 1 or 2. I think people just don't come in here and lie, because if you get caught out, you'll get exposed. Like, this is a debate, conversation, brilliant. But don't come in and throw lies in, because we're not having that. We're not having lies. Is there a chance that one of our midfield talents in the youth setup becomes that player we need in the middle of the park next season? I don't know. I mean, certainly, if you throw a young player in, you've got to expect inconsistency. Can we afford to do that this season? No. Could we afford to do it next season? I don't know, because I think United have got to progress every year. And the issue with bringing a young player in is they've got to be ready to go. And it's very unfair to say a young player is ready to go, because they've got to be given the ability to make mistakes. John United says the bomb squad was the buzzword for the summer. There should have been more names on it. Yeah, well, John, we're coming towards the end of the show, but I completely agree with you. I don't even give credit to Wilcox and Barada and Amorim for the bomb squad. What was the bomb squad? It's got nothing. Why were they called the bomb squad? As I said, this sort of irritates me a little bit. People band around the word bomb squad like we had a really good summer transfer window. Hold on a minute. How many players who started the Europa League final did we get rid of? Anana, Rasmus, 2. And they're both on loan. The bomb squad, none of them started the Europa League final, and 4 of them were nothing to do with the season anyway. Rashford was gone in January, Anthony was gone in January, Malacia was gone for all season, and so was Sancho. Garnacho, granted, was there for most of the season. So this bomb squad that's sort of been labelled as a success story for our board to get rid of the shit, well, technically they weren't really. They had to go, but they weren't really the problem last season. There was a multiple of players. A lot of the players people are, praising at the moment were the same players that delivered our most embarrassing points total in Premier League history and finished 15th. I personally think more than Rasmus and Anana should have gone from that Europa League final side. I personally think another 3 or 4 players should have gone. The bottom line is we were never going to do it because it took us all summer to get rid of the bomb squad. But there's a lot more that needs to go out of that team if we want to get better. Oh, Alex, you're so clever the way you've worded it, but you still got noticed and blocked. Well done, Alex. You sad twat. Malacia left in January. Yeah, but he never played in. Whether he left in January or not, he didn't. It wasn't like he was playing at left back for most of the season, was he? Malacia hardly played. Sancho wasn't there. Anthony and Rashford hardly played and then got rid of. So this bomb squad nonsense is it's just another way for these people who, live up the arse of the Glazers to try and pretend that, we cleared out the shit in the summer. And we didn't. We got rid of players that needed to go, but I don't think most of that bomb squad really had anything to do with us having a bad season last year. Matthew Atkinson, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for that. What about Luke Shaw? Would you get rid of him? Oh, 100%. 100%. I think he's one of my favourite players up until a couple of years ago, but the whole England thing and the fact that he's now staying fit, having not been fit for 2 years, I just find it's a miracle. I'm not even going to be it's just a miracle. It's an absolute miracle that Luke Shaw can suddenly play football every week in a World Cup year as well. It's amazing. But no, I'd get rid of him. I know he's doing well, but I just don't. Well liked around the club. They all really, really like him. He's good mates with Cunha, etc. And that's absolutely fantastic. But the whole England thing, is it stubbornness? I don't know. I don't think it is stubbornness. The whole England thing just made me just not really I became indifferent to Luke Shaw. I was like, you're indifferent to Man United. I'm indifferent to you. You know, your priorities are very different to what I think. You know, he has done quite well for us this season, and hopefully he will continue to do well, but he's not a player for the future. And I always feel like we're one news story away from him being out injured again. So, you know, I would move Luke Shaw on in the summer if I could, 100%. Thanks everyone for watching, as always. 8 o'clock show is going to be really good tonight. It was brilliant last night if you didn't watch it. And we're back at 2 as well with Beth. And we've got Ben Jacobs on the show tomorrow, which will be really good because we're looking at all the latest on what's actually going on ahead of the January transfer window. Have a great day, evening, whatever you're doing, legends. And I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care.